Ladies and gentlemen, it's my absolute pleasure to introduce our esteemed keynote speaker for today, Adrian Salisbury, founder of Adrian Salisbury Training, which includes his course called Pro Video Academy. With his unparalleled expertise and knowledge in the fields of cameras, video production, and live streaming, Adrian has completely transformed the industry, helping numerous individuals and businesses from around the world achieve their video goals through his unique approach to training. Joining us live from the United Kingdom, Adrian here to discuss an essential topic that we can all benefit from: how to improve our on-camera presence and become more comfortable and confident in front of the lens. Having personally experienced the incredible value of Adrian's training, I can assure you that you're in for a treat. Adrian's expertise extends far beyond just technical knowledge, as he recognizes the critical role that confidence plays when it comes to being on camera. His keynote address today, Live Camera Confidence, is relevant to anyone looking to improve their on-camera presence and effectively communicate their message. Through his numerous courses, Adrian has helped countless individuals and businesses conquer their fear of the camera and develop their own unique style that resonates with their audience. In today's session, Adrian will share his insights and strategies for building confidence on camera, enabling you to create videos that are not only professional, but also engaging. So let's give a warm welcome from the United Kingdom, Adrian Salisbury. The stage is yours.
Thank you very much, Brian. What a huge intro. No pressure. No, honestly, it's lovely to be here. Thank you so much for having me over. I realize this is a bit different to what you're talking about in the rest of the conference, but really want to have a good practical session with you. And as Brian said, really believe this is beneficial for everybody here. So come back with me, please, to 2019. In fact, imagine that it's your 2019 conference, and I'm standing here on stage telling you that over the next few years, you're going to be doing all of your business from home. You wouldn't believe me, would you? And of course, it's 2019, so I'm going to have to be there in person because it's relatively unheard of having international guest speakers using Zoom to dial in from home. But COVID happened, the world got locked down, and weirdly at the same time, everything got a lot more accessible. I, for one, absolutely love this new landscape. Virtual and online is now how we do the majority of our business. And I want to encourage you, if need be, to shift your perspective and embrace this incredible opportunity, because honestly, I believe it's awesome. You get to have virtual face-to-face meetings with anybody in the world, host webinars and deliver presentations to hundreds of people across multiple time zones without leaving home. It's mind-blowing. Now, I totally appreciate that Zoom, Microsoft Teams, whatever it is you're using, were here long before lockdown. But it wasn't really considered a viable alternative to an in-person meeting. It was fine for our internal meetings, but we wouldn't really have asked a prospective client to jump on a Teams call. We'd have wanted to meet them in person in their office, to see them face to face. Well, clearly all of that changed with COVID, and these online meeting tools became our only option. And for a while, there was a sense of camaraderie as we were all getting going with really what we've got in front of us at home. And certainly there wasn't any expectation for us to show up looking professional or polished on camera. But what I find staggering is that still the vast majority of businessmen and women really haven't made any steps to improve their setup since these lockdown days. And please don't feel any shame if that's you. I'm not here to embarrass you. I've just got some really exciting news for you, because I believe that this slow adoption by the masses leaves the opportunity wide open for you to do something about your on-camera presence and stand out head and shoulders above your peers. We've all been in meetings or at events, maybe it's even happened today, when you enter a room and someone just comes into the room with just this air of authority about them. Maybe it's an expensive, well-fitting suit, gorgeous aftershave or perfume that seems to fill the room, well-trimmed hair, big confident smile. They just seem to capture the attention of the room, and everyone's kind of going, who's that? Well, I want to help you have that kind of presence every time you show up on camera. Does that sound good? So I've got about 25, 30 minutes to run through with you. I know you're already over time, and hopefully we'll be good. I want you to get ahead of the game with this when it comes to mastering your on-camera presence. Now, we've titled this Lights, Camera, Confidence. In a sense, I don't actually think confidence is lacking in a room like this. I reckon most of you are pretty awesome face-to-face with your clients, because you're not going to get to where you are lacking confidence, right? But the problem is the playing field has changed. You Canadians, I know, love your hockey, right? I could ask for a show of hands, actually, because I can see you all from the back of the room here. How many of you play hockey? Anybody? I know Brian does. There's a few hands up. Right, well, imagine this. What if I invited you over to England here and said, bring your equipment, let's have a game of hockey. It's still hockey, but totally different, okay? And I'm using that picture because I think it's actually as unfamiliar as that for you. It feels as awkward as that for some of you trying to conduct your business online. The goals haven't changed, the expectations. You've still got to secure those deals. You've still got to build that rapport and trust with a client. All the things that actually you're pretty awesome at when you're doing it face to face. But now you've got to do it, not with a client in front of you, but talking into that little camera at the top of your screen, or maybe a webcam. Some of you might remember the transition when we shifted from pen and paper to computers. And I'm not going to ask for a show of hands for this one. I won't ask how old you are. I was in my early 20s when I had my first PC that looked something like this. And some of you are probably nudging each other going, actually, mine doesn't look any different to that now. But Excel spreadsheets, all this stuff, I thought it was awesome. As a young man in my 20s, I absolutely loved a computer. So much better than pen and paper. It just blew my mind. But I can remember, sadly, the bookkeeper that worked at my dad's business, a lady in her late 50s, totally refusing to use the computer that was on her desk. She wouldn't even turn the thing on. And sadly, she made the decision to leave rather than adopting and get on board with this new technology. Now, this isn't as extreme as that. I get that. You're all doing okay with your webcams and your audio isn't that bad, but you're in a very competitive market here and you can't afford to be left behind and just lost in the crowd, really. So I'm going to help you. Now, my son's girlfriend actually said something recently that I thought was beautiful. He was complimenting her on how confident she was. She's there in front of us. It was her birthday. She's unwrapping some presents. And he said, you're so confident in front of us. And she said, it's not about being confident. I just feel really comfortable with you. And I thought, I love that. I actually said, I'm going to use that in my talk. It's not about feeling confident. It's about feeling comfortable. And I think that is the biggest challenge that you face. How can you bring that strong, confident presence to your calls when you're feeling uncomfortable looking into that little camera? If I can help you feel and just get comfortable and relaxed on camera, it's going to allow your confidence to shine through the screen every time you get online, whether it's a one-to-one Zoom or Teams call or a big webinar to hundreds of people. Now, you're here at this conference to learn strategies for success, right? Well, in this online world, I believe the most important strategies that you need to be focusing on is how do I increase my confidence on camera so that I can bring my A game every time I log on to a call. And remember, you're not standing now. We're not in person. It isn't like the event you're in. You're not in this scenario standing shoulder to shoulder with your peers or your competitors. You're all stuck in this little screen when you're having these calls. When your prospective client comes off a call with this guy, then his next call is with you and you're looking like this. Who do you think he's going to work with? And yes, it is the same person. He's one of my customers. I'm going to show you a little bit more about him later. But that's the contrast. That's the impact that we're having when we're showing up on camera like this. So hopefully you can see why Brian was keen for me to come in here and help you with this. And for some of you, I kid you not, if you can change your attitude and your perspective around this, really get on board with it, it will be life-changing. So let's break this down because I've got 5 points that I want to run through with you. Your background, your style, your equipment, your presentation, and yourself. And we've actually made a little workbook for you that is based on this talk, because I haven't got conventional slides to just send across to you. So we've got a workbook, and my last slide on here is going to be a QR code so that you can download that and work through it afterwards. I want you to stay focused with me here rather than give you a worksheet to go through, but just know that we're coming back to this after. So I should, before I get into it, just briefly introduce myself. My name, as Brian said, is Adrian Salisbury. I was a professional photographer for about 15 years and wanted to shift to online education. I now have several online courses teaching people how to succeed on YouTube, build an online course, present using software called Ecamm Live, which I'm going to show you in a few minutes. And the main offering that I've got is really a longer version of what we're doing today, helping people look and feel professional on video. That's my Pro Video Academy. So everything I do now is done inside of this screen, and I love it. I have thousands of customers all around the world from all walks of life, and I get to help them succeed and thrive online. So let's get into this. Let's get practical. The first point we want to cover here is your background. So maybe unusually, before we get into talking about cameras and equipment and things like that, what about this background? Your background, what does it look like? Consciously or subconsciously, people are taking note of what's going on back there, just as they would if they were visiting your work office. If you knew that a big client was coming into your office tomorrow for a meeting, wouldn't you make sure that everything was in order and looking its best? Now, I've got a lot of experience with lawyers, actually, and law firms, because I've watched all 9 seasons of Suits. So I know that there's something significant about having a lovely office. It's a status symbol, right? That coveted corner office, the best views. It's a sign that you're a somebody. And your clients would be impressed with it too. Now, don't worry, I'm not assuming that everybody's offices look like this, but you get the idea. So my point is, if that were in the workplace, if you're wanting this lovely office because you want to impress your visitors and it makes you feel good, why wouldn't you want to embrace this with your home office? Why not create something similar, equally as powerful and impressive, and wow everybody who comes on your calls? You can let them sit the other side in their untidy rooms while you sit there looking like you're in this high-end corporate office. And it's not hard. Any of you can do this, I promise. So actually, what sort of office do you think I'm in? You're looking here and making an assumption about where I'm sitting here, but actually, you haven't got a clue what I've got to the sides of me or in front of me. All you're seeing is about 8 foot of that wall that's behind me. I could be in a bedroom with a bed to the side of me for all you know. And actually, that's what one of my customers does, and I want to show you here. This is Sabina. She's in Germany. She runs a YouTube channel all about childcare. And that looks great, doesn't it? This is the room that she's working in. It's in her basement. It's a spare bedroom. You can see she's got that tripod just up on a bit of board on the bed. Literally, that's where she films from. This is Adam. This is another one of my customers. He's a marketing coach. He just moved house when he'd recorded this series of videos. And he said to me, I've got to send you this photo. You won't believe the room that I'm in. I haven't even unpacked yet. This is the room that he's working in. You would look at that. You would not have any idea of all the mess that's going on behind him. And remember Michael I just showed you earlier. Here he is at the top right on camera, but I want you to see where he's working. We've set him up with his camera and microphone, sitting at his desk at his laptop there. No major tech going on there really. And I want you to see that he's got this mattress propped up in front of him. He's got another one in that other image tucked in a space in the room there because he was getting a lot of problems with echo. And he decided that this would be a great way to get rid of that and really deaden the sound in the room. And I'm not suggesting that you need to do this at home, but isn't it staggering that we haven't got a clue what's going on aside from the space behind these guys? The point is that you don't need to have a fancy space to give the illusion that you're in a lovely office. So that's the first excuse knocked out. So what does your background look like? This could actually be so much, well, it would be so much easier if we were all on Zoom. I know I'm sitting on Zoom and actually I've got a camera of the room down here, but if you were all logged in on Zoom right now, I wonder how you'd be feeling as I start talking about your backgrounds and I'm looking across the gallery view. Some of you'd probably be squirming right now or flicking off your cameras if you hadn't already done it. But does your background look messy? What do we think that might say? You might think, well, it's just my home office. Nobody cares about this stuff. But what does it say? Might that actually imply that you're disorganized or that you don't care about the details and the finesse? Might it make people question actually how good you are? Let me do a little test with you. Have a bit of fun. If I showed up looking like this, I'm not going to ask for any hands up if that's what your office looks like, but would you take me as seriously if I was showing up in a cluttered, busy room like this? Or maybe I'm still in my bedroom and I've just put a camera over in the corner there. Or what about this one? That's a very messy room going on there. Now, this is a bit of fun, but what actually do people see when they're looking behind you? You might not even be thinking about it. You might not take any notice of it. People are looking. Someone's going to ask me later about that green screen. We can come back to that. So let's not distract people with our backgrounds. It's why I really try to keep things simple here. I can actually remember in lockdown when our church, like everybody else, shifted online, having various people streaming in from home. And often they seem to enjoy standing in front of their bookcases. And I kind of realized that I was so distracted and curious about the books that I would see on the shelves behind them. I wasn't actually listening to anything these guys were saying. I was off on Amazon going, what does that say? Because if it was a book that my pastor was using, I'd want to have a look at it and see what it was. It doesn't matter as well. I kind of said earlier, is this just for big presentations? Does this matter if this is just a one-to-one call? Do people really care and take notice? Well, here's an example. I was on a call to discuss a speaking event last year when my client, who was a corporate executive, who I was the person trying to impress, she's actually apologizing to me because I came on screen like this. She instantly started apologizing for this messy background and she hadn't had time to clear this up and she was squirming. It was like she showed up to a party completely underdressed for it. If I'd have shown up like but when I show up like this, it was memorable and I completely won her over. So no, I don't think this is just for the big presentations. I honestly believe this is for every time you show up on camera. And that includes simply sitting in the audience. As I say, if we were here and actually this was all online, you'd be sitting there in the audience. And I still think it applies there as well. I honestly believe every time you show up on camera, you're marketing yourself because you don't know who else is in the room. And it might be a perfect client or a colleague of theirs who could potentially recommend you. So take a bit of time, consider where you're setting up. What does your background say about you? Remember, we can only see that small area behind you. The rest of your room is irrelevant. Now, some of you might need a bit of inspiration on this. And I'm not the most creative person. And I kind of take ideas from people. Maybe I'll be watching something on TV and I'll think, that's a really nice room. I remember when they do the Apple launch for the new updates and there's someone there in an office, I'm actually pausing the telly and taking a photo going, I really like that. Well, one of the tools that I use all the time and recommend to you is Pinterest. And if you don't know what Pinterest is, then the concept is it's a bit like having a pinboard and you're cutting out your stickers from a magazine or a newspaper and putting them on there for ideas. That's what Pinterest is, but in the virtual world. It's a website, pinterest.com. It might be pinterest.ca, I'm not sure. And we go there and put ideas up. And I can create pin boards, as many as I want, I think, on Pinterest. And I do this every time we want to decorate a room at home and I have no idea where to go with it. And I'll share it with my wife and we'll sort of put ideas up that we like. Well, you can do exactly the same thing with ideas for an office. Very simply, you can head to this. It's totally free. Create an account, create a board. And then, so I've got one here. I'm just going to demonstrate to you. This says office design ideas. And I've just been through this, looking at pictures. And every time I see one that I like, I hit save. And so these are all ideas, rooms that inspire me. I really like this paneling going on back here. I think that might be one of the next iterations of this office space. But I picked this top one here. I think actually, let's think of a nice big corporate office space. I think this one here could look really nice. I can imagine that in a high-end law office. So what is it about it? I click on this one to start with, and using Pinterest, it come down here and it says shop for similar. And look, it's suggesting other ones. And every time I click one and say save, it's now saved another one to this suite of my board of ideas and images that I've got here. Now, we can take these. It doesn't take long to come up with some ideas. It might actually surprise you what it is that inspires you. You might go, actually, I didn't really appreciate that, but all the ones I've picked out have been really bright and light, or maybe it's a dark background like I've got. And remember that when you're doing this, you can't even see my desk in front of me. You're literally sort of seeing me from chest up and whatever's going on behind me back there. It's purely about that background. So this is your first bit of homework, and it is in that workbook. When you get home, I'd love you to open up Zoom, Teams, whatever you use, and just take a look, turn it on, have a look how impressive your background is looking. What are people seeing when you're getting on and you're talking away to them? And like I just said, if they're distracted and going, what is that behind him over there? So keep it on brand. I think keep it as minimal as possible. Is there a better location even that you could be using, or even just swinging around and changing the angle that you're working from? I'm not on about having a separate space to your desk. I think it really needs to be at your desk. I'm going to talk in a minute about equipment, and this should be something that is there every time you're on camera. Try and find a nice plain wall. Try not to get doors and windows and things in behind you. And, I paint this wall quite regularly, actually, and I'll be inspired with a different color, and I get a paintbrush out and there it changes. So don't kind of dismiss the idea of just putting a quick coat of paint on your wall. And then you just think, okay, what props do I need to add in? If I just go back to that Pinterest one there, if you could imagine that we've got, you're sat behind that desk. We can't see the desk. Really, what can we see? Just the wall behind that's a nice color and a huge big picture, photo by the looks of it on the wall there. Maybe that lamp that's sitting off to the side. It really wouldn't take long to just drop a couple of props in behind you and create the illusion that you're sitting in this gorgeous corporate office. Okay, that's number one. Number two is your style. Let's jump back again to the idea of being in person for a minute. If you were about to deliver a big presentation, maybe you're the next person to come on stage here, or you were heading to an important meeting, how much thought and preparation would you put into it? Likely you're going to make sure that you've got a decent suit. You're going to have a nice pair of shoes, probably polished up the night before. Get a haircut if need be, or make sure that it's nice and tidy. Maybe even a fancy watch. That's going to get noticed and scream successful, isn't it? I kind of watch these things. And I was at an airport last week coming back from Egypt, and I clocked this beautiful watch on the guy that was in front of me, and I took a sneaky little photo of it. And if you don't know, Google Lens allows you to use photos like this, and it will go off and search them. And I was able to find that was actually a £14,000 watch, which is 23,000 Canadian dollars. And some of you might be into this. Is new to me. And I don't think it's anything my wife would let me get into. But to me, that really says something about the person wearing it. I kind of imagined him getting into his Porsche SUV and driving back to his £10 million home, wearing that expensive watch, his designer clothes, his suitcase, made this random stranger look successful to me. I was wondering, what does he do for a living that he can afford this? Now, if that were in a work context and he'd pitch something to me, I'd be really receptive to what he was saying, because clearly this guy's good. All right. So do you get the point? We don't necessarily think about what we're going to wear, how we're going to show up when we get on camera from home, but apply that same idea and principle. How would you dress in person? How would you show up? What is it about other people that you're going, wow, they must be successful? And let's try and apply that. Now, that said, I wear a black t-shirt every time I go live. And I love it because I believe it says tech, entrepreneur, confident, successful, and it gets noticed. My members turn up on my calls and they'll go, look, I'm in my Adrian t-shirt. It's become part of my brand. I think they'd wonder what had happened if I turned up in a formal shoot in a shirt. Steve Jobs was actually the first person that I really clocked doing this, that showed up on stage in his black top and jeans. And they even played on this casual style in a campaign comparing Mac customers to PC customers. Now, I'm not for a minute suggesting that you all show up to the office with your black t-shirts tomorrow, but what you wear speaks as loud as how you're speaking. I really believe it says something about you. So have a think about what you're wearing. What is it saying? Like I said a few minutes ago, how would you wear, or what would you wear, I should say? How would you dress if you were showing up in person and presenting? Do the same online. I honestly think this has an impact. I see it, other people see it, and wouldn't it be great if, with a little bit of effort, a little bit more thought maybe before you jump on camera, it could have this kind of strength and impact coming through. Now, little pro tip here, even though we can't see what's going on below the waist, you're going to feel way more businesslike and ready for action if you dress as if you were heading into the office. I've had customers who tell me they're sitting at home like this and they put their high heels on, ladies, because it makes them feel more professional. Can I share a secret with you? And it isn't that I'm wearing high heels. I actually go and brush my teeth and I put on some aftershave before I come on a call like this, which sounds crazy because you're not going to hear us. You're not going to smell that coming through. But it's for me. I'm telling myself, right, here we go. I'm ready. This is business. And so, yeah, all these little bits really do make a difference. And I think, it was okay for a season for us to sit at home in our pajama bottoms and shorts, and fun to brag about the fact that I've got my shirt on top, but you should see down below. But that's not how we show up now. We want to really be feeling comfortable, ready for work, ready for business, and confident. And so put the whole suit on, be ready. Right, now let's jump on number 3. We're looking at finally your equipment. And without a doubt, this is the main thing that is going to help you to stand out. Using a camera, something like this. That's exactly the same one that I'm shooting through right now. Not the big cameras that you're potentially seeing here at this event. It's all quite domestic. Then add a good microphone, some nice lighting, and everyone's going to start saying, wow, how come you look so good? If I sort my background out and make an effort with my appearance, it's not going to have as much impact if I still show up looking like this as opposed to this. And this is where my interest really is. When I started my online business back in 2017, people were blown away with how good my image was compared to theirs. So I created a solution where someone could purchase the exact same equipment that I've got here, and then I walk through it with them in a set of tutorials, and within a matter of days, they get this kind of transformation. Here's a few of my customers just to quickly show you. This is Michael that again you saw, but there he is on his before one. That was actually on a support call that I was having with him, and everything put together, that's the difference. This is Jake. He's a property investor. Jennifer is a health and nutrition coach, and Michelle runs a Facebook ads agency. And actually, Michelle reached out to me about a month after getting all this set up to say how every time she gets on a call, people comment about how amazing she looks. What would that do for your confidence? So I know what I'm talking about. I put these in here to just show you this isn't just me talking. We've had hundreds of people go through and seen this transformation. And my specialty is helping non-techie people. So this kind of transformation, all of you could do this. So what equipment are we talking about? Well, I'm going to show you my setup. Here we go. Nice side angle. In fact, I've got that zoomed in. Let's push that back. This is my room. This is the space that I'm working in. It's actually, it's in our garage. And so we converted it. We got a builder in to turn it into an office space. So it sits across the garden from my house. You can't see any of that when you're looking back there. Now, what actually we're talking about equipment, I can just zoom in a bit on this. And if I push this up here, I've got a little wand to be able to point to you. What are the essentials in this? Well, there is a camera that is, you can just see the screen of it back there, and that's shooting through this teleprompter. Now, I love this teleprompter. It means that I can't actually see the camera. I'm just looking at my screen, whether it be notes, or I can actually use it and put my Zoom call on like this. So we'll come back to that one. I've got a light at the top here and this beautiful big dome that I've got, this soft box that, look how close that is to me. Just creates a really soft light, no strong shadows and things. And then I've got a microphone that's sitting here in front of me. This is my computer. I'm sharing across, I've got a laptop there that shares to another screen. And then I use an iPad up here, and that's what serves as my teleprompter. It's like having 3 screens, and I can move things up to there and see them up top. So that's my room. That's my setup over here. And as you can see, I've got a space. There's another desk back there. And that's my little green screen that I used earlier. All right. So there we go. Well, actually, let's pull it back to it a minute. So we've looked down those main elements. Really, cost of all this, I had a quick look earlier, and Canadian dollars, which I feel for you guys, is definitely a lot dearer than US dollars. But this is about $2,800 for you to have everything that I've got in, well, not everything, the camera, the video equipment that I've got in front of me. The package we would put together for one of our customers would be about $2,800 Canadian. This is actually, it might look, there's a lot going on here today because I've plugged things in to be able to do a demo in a few minutes, but this is actually pretty minimal. And the only things that are here are things that you need. This is, again, as I say, it's a permanent setup that is in front of me. So every time I want to get on and do a Zoom call, I turn my camera on, I turn my lights on with an app, and I'm here. It's ready to go. I don't have to think, right, let's get all that equipment out. Let's put it together. Oh, I can't be bothered. I'm just going to use my webcam. We're ready to go whenever I want. So please trust me when I say that the return on investment here is off the charts. When you have everybody saying, like Michelle was saying, you look so good. How have you done that? It's priceless. And again, happily answer any questions if we've got time at the end. Now, fourthly, your presentation with your nice background, your camera setup. A great way to wow your audience and stand out is through your presentation. And I'm sorry, but I'm a Mac user. Any Mac users in the room? I'm curious. I'm thinking most of you are PC. There's a few more than I expected. Awesome. I'm a Mac user, and I use software called Ecamm Live. It's a powerful live streaming production tool that I can use and send a feed into Zoom here like this and do a presentation like I couldn't do with anything else. I'm just going to show you a few of the cool toys. So on Ecamm, you've already seen how that I can cut between scenes.
Adrian, really, you came to me through a word of mouth referral.
Whoops, jumped ahead to the wrong one. I can play a video as well. I'll let this play. I'll just mute myself.
Adrian, really, you came to me through a word of mouth referral from a dear friend. We were in a mastermind and I saw what she was looking like on camera and her set. I was like, what are you using? And then she took a picture and she showed me all of this stuff. And I was like, whoa, how'd you learn that? Right?
Then I can do PowerPoint presentations in here as well. And very easily I can be cutting through. This is actually a presentation from Canva as an example. So I don't even know what's really on there, but it allows me to walk through this like this and stay on camera while I'm doing it. That's maybe not too different to what you do. How about this? Because I've got a green screen, I can actually come over here, pressing the wrong button, and I can be inside this. So now I'm actually inside the presentation and I'm able to kind of point to these features and things over here as well. This is pretty cool, isn't it? I can use my iPad. I'll pull this screen down. I can use my iPad that I've got connected to my computer here. And I can do, I know there's a whiteboard inside of Zoom. It's a bit clunky. You got to try and use your mouse or your finger on an iPad to use it. Well, I can actually use my Apple Pencil on here and I can write notes. I could be doing little graphs and things, or just, keeping an idea going. I'm talking to a client and I'm just scribbling and we're working through something together. Better than that, we can actually write on screen. That's pretty cool. Now, we're talking about doing memorable things and exciting things. This is absolutely doable to you, but it's an Ecamm product. I can only do this with Ecamm, which is Mac. This absolutely sets me apart, though. These kind of presentations, actually that whole writing on screen, one of my customers came back to me saying, I'm in this mastermind group and the guy was doing this thing where it's like he was writing on screen. You've got to teach us how to do it. So it gets noticed. People are going to come away from presentations going, wow, I've never seen anything like that. Now, this is Mac software, but actually, I don't know if you appreciate, I've got a lot of customers who will shift across, who have shifted to Macs just to be able to use Ecamm. It's software that I teach on. But yeah, it's there as an option. Even if you're not, though, and you're doing presentations on a PC or a Mac, please do make sure you practice and really get your presentation down and slick. Take some effort over this. Don't just come on, oh, I've got some slides. Hang on a minute. Let me just see where I'm going to share my screen. Oh, sorry about that. That's my emails. Now you're seeing all this messy desktop. That's not good. Fumbling around like that is just going to firstly lose your audience's attention and just kill any trust they've got when you're that. Plus, it's going to totally throw you off your game, isn't it? So here's my little tip for you on this one. Whether you prefer Zoom or Teams, open up a meeting. Don't invite anyone to it, but just hit record and practice as if you'd got viewers on, sharing your screen, running through slides, doing all those things that you're going to do, then play it back through. And I know most of us don't like seeing and hearing ourselves, but it really is the best way to hone your craft and just get good at this stuff. All right. Remember, our goal overall is for you to feel comfortable on camera. So, don't kind of, and I have customers do this, bless them, and they're desperately trying to do this fancy presentation and they get all lost in it and confused. That's great if you're practiced and you know what you're doing, but don't get stuck in that stuff if it's just going to get you all stuck and lose your confidence. If you got a slideshow, bring it on. But I do encourage you, if possible, to try and keep yourself on camera, because I really think the important thing here with your presentations is that we see your face. And like you just saw a second ago, one of the great things Ecamm lets me do is I can run my slideshow presentation, but I'm keeping myself on camera as well. But notice that I haven't chosen this style for today. That's because I honestly think that the most important thing is about you making eye contact with your audience, not the fancy presentation. This is one of the reasons that I love this kind of presenting online. You can have hundreds of people watching an online presentation, but for each of them individually, it feels intimate. It's just like it's you and them having this conversation. I think it's a way stronger connection than if you were sat at the back of a seminar like this, feeling potentially quite distant or disconnected from a speaker. So again, I'm just trying to wrap up here this. Don't fight this stuff. It really should be embraced. It's incredible the power that you can have and the impact you can have with someone on the other end of the screen. Make sure as well that you're filling the frame. Try not to be kind of sat down low or too far away from the camera. Notice how there's very little space between the top of my head here, the top of the frame. And my eyes typically are sitting about on the upper third here. I'm in the center, and this really should feel like it was. Certainly if you were on a Zoom call to me now, if you watch this back, I believe this is going to get put online. If you watch this back on your computer afterwards, you'll see what I'm saying. It really creates this sense of us sitting across a desk from each other. And I also think eye level is really important too. And something that maybe when it's your camera's attached to your monitor, you don't really pay as much consideration to, but try and raise it up. Even if it's some books underneath your laptop, try and get eye contact. We want people coming away from your presentation going, that was impressive. All right. So last one, yourself. Getting a good camera, setting up that nice background, showing up in a nice outfit and creating a memorable presentation is great. But if you're not smiling and looking friendly, people aren't going to feel any connection. It's the simplest part of all of this. Just smile and be happy. Show us that you want to be here, that you got something exciting to share with us. It really makes the world of difference. And I appreciate that looking down a lens into a webcam is totally different to standing in front of someone and kind of drawing off their body language and energy. But in the same way that that confidence came with practice of you, I'm sure the first time you stood up or met a client, heart was pounding and it just got easier over time. Well, it's the same with this. You can just practice what you're doing. But I promise if you take action on these things here, people are going to start saying, you look really good on camera. And you might actually decide that you prefer to be on camera like this than you do in real life. Not that we can get out of that, but confidence-wise. So some tips with you. Try to look at the camera as much as possible. I just mentioned that people want to connect with you. And if you're looking down here, looking at them on this Zoom call, they're just looking at the top of your head. So please try and stay looking into the camera, the webcam, wherever it is. Maybe put a little sticker next to it with an arrow telling you to point at it. I know people that do that. Try to get used to it. It's not easy when it's separate and you want to be looking down here at your Zoom window, but try to stay looking up here and just get used to your peripheral view, seeing the person on the other side of it. It's actually why I use this teleprompter, and it's way more than a teleprompter with just a script. It's an extended screen, so it allows me to push my desktop screen up to there so I could push my Zoom conversation up, and I'm literally looking straight at the other person on the call. They're getting eye-line contact. I'm looking straight at their face, and actually I'm not even conscious of the camera because it's tucked in back behind this. It's genius, and it's relatively easy to set all this up. Now, my final point, how am I doing on time? Hopefully there's still a bit of time for some questions. Very little last point. This is not just for when you're speaking. This is everything we've been talking about is when you're in the audience as well. I'm sure you've all got horror stories from Zoom meetings. I can remember ones where we're on church meetings, and you can see somebody nodding off and things. That'd be awful if it were in a business context and it's you the other side of it. And, you know, if we were on Zoom now, am I going to see somebody looking bored and distracted? Maybe you're off doing something else and almost ignoring that this camera's on over here. Or am I going to see someone who's listening, they're interested, they're nodding, they're smiling back at me and maybe give me a little clap or a thumbs up as we go through? That's huge. I really draw from that. When I'm looking at a gallery of people, my eye just stays on those people that are really kind of encouraging me and helping me. And if you've ever been on stage or maybe even in those Zoom meetings, you know what I'm talking about. You clock those faces that are engaging and encouraging. And I want you to be that for someone. Again, you don't know who's in the room. It might be that someone else is in there, not just the speaker, and they're going, who's that person? They look really on it. Yeah, and they're checking you out, they're nosing around. Before you know it, they've been to Google, they've found you on LinkedIn, and maybe they're reaching out to you. It's happened to me. I've had people do that who have actually reached out to me in the chat privately and gone, you got to tell us how you're doing that. And have come through and become a customer. So this stuff works. That's my recipe for all of this. These 5 different points that we've put together here. Please, when you get home, take some action on this. Do an audit on the current camera, on your current camera presence. Check out that background. Make some changes if needed. What about how you dress? What about the equipment? Some upgrade in that. And remember to smile. Okay, so all of this stuff is going to help you feel so much more comfortable on camera, so much more confident. And yeah, I wish you every success. Now, I did just quickly here, I don't know how well this will work. Hopefully it will. We said about this workbook, I thought the easiest way to do it, I can see Brian's there ready. Is this looking okay, Brian? Try, if you will, grab your phones and just open up your camera app. You don't need to take a photo. If you hover your camera over it, you might need to zoom in. It should give you the link to a page that I've made just for this event. And you can download for free this workbook that we've put together for you. If not, I'm sure Brian can send you the link to it. We'll do something and get that across to you afterwards.
That's great, Adrian. I think we're just getting something from Zoom over the barcode, but don't worry. We're going to have all this available.
Really?
Yeah, we're going to have everything available on the website. so you can download this digital product. But just, everybody, a round of applause for Adrian. I thought that was amazing. Amazing. Wow. Like, Adrian, I wanted to bring Adrian out here to meet us all, and I defeat the purpose because he's supposed to be on camera showing us how we can look on camera. And so if there's any questions, please come up because he's right there. If you have a couple questions about Zoom or Teams or other things that you use. But the thinking I want to leave you with is Ecamm is the Mac tool. You can buy it, the Mac Mini. Ecamm Live is the software that they built. So maybe if you heard of StreamYard and things like that, it's a virtual production studio. It's amazing. It's not hard to learn. But if you're an issuer, think about doing an online presentation. You saw Adrian in the round bubble. Well, you can totally put him here or there. You can have 10 people on at the same time, and the production quality is amazing. And you literally are creating your own scenes. So if you are an issuer looking to present to dealing representatives or investors or wholesaler, or if you're an EMD looking to present to your field force of DRs or otherwise, this thing has huge potential. And it's funny, I think we all look in the background and saw, what's that book that guy has there? Or what is that in the corner? That looks weird, and we wander, etc. So I think this was a great eye-opener. I mean, Adrian's done a lot on YouTube there, like you noticed that. That's a huge award.
That's what you were referring to, sorry.
Yeah, no, absolutely. I think the takeaway here is you need to look good on camera because you're professionals and you're expected to. In a very competitive landscape, raise your game. And when you looked at his little studio there, that's exactly what my work desk looks like. So you come into your office, you turn on the lights, and I don't know when I'm going to get a call, but then you're ready when you need to be, especially when it comes to clients who are trying to know, like, and trust you when you're selling them investments. Or did you see how he put stuff on the screen? You can show them numbers or their KYC form and things like that. It is so helpful. So, Adrian, I know you're coming in from the UK, so thank you. I think you're, 5 hours ahead of us?
Yeah, it's 5 o'clock here.
No,
yeah.
That's fantastic.
You guys are going to get your lunch now, are you?
Yeah, absolutely. This was exceptional. So, ladies and gentlemen, thank you for listening. Adrian, thank you very much. Great presentation.
Thank you so much. Really enjoyed it. Thank you.